All right, folks, and we're back here again. It's another day, another update for Oscars. We're a little overdue for that. We're heading into the night before the Golden Globes are handed out, so it's a good chance to kind of update predictions one more time before we get into final predictions after we know the BAFTA nods, the Golden Globe winners, we know the nominees at DGA and PGA, WGA, so on and so forth. I think we'll just go right into it here with some updated predictions from last time. And we'll get into the short categories, the doc feature category, and so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll really cover the whole spectrum here today with all the 24 categories. Okay, so we'll start with the shorts here with, let's see here, what's this first one? Live action short. Okay, I couldn't remember which one I was on here, sorry. Let's see, I have kind of the 5 consensus picks right now for these: Brotherhood, A Sister, The Neighbor's Window, Little Hands, and Refugee. A few people do like Sometimes I Think About Dying, and some people do like Miller and Son a lot, so, one of those could sneak in there. Nerf to Football Club, Saria, and The Christmas Gift are a couple others that could be nominated there as well. Those are the ones that made the short list. But yeah, for now I'm just sticking with the consensus on those. For Doc Short, I have Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone out front. Everybody, I think, that has kind of gotten the knowledge on these and have seen these says that's really the one that's probably had to win here. It might be an easy pick in this category. Fire in Paradise is another one I have in there. Stay Close, After Maria, and then St. Louis Superman is the 5th one I have in, which does kind of go against the consensus choice right now. Walk, Run, Cha-Cha is another one. A lot of people have that one in. Life Overtakes Me is another one people have. They like the Life ones this year. The Nightcrawlers, In the Absence, and Ghosts of Sugarland are the other ones that could be nominated here that made the short list. So again, yeah, maybe one or two that are against the grain there, but otherwise I'm sticking with the consensus. Same goes for the animated short category. I have Hair, Love out front, again, another one everybody's talking about in this category. Physics of Sorrow, Dekra, which means, or Desera, not sure what language that is for daughter. Kit Bull, and Mind My Mind is the last one I have in. And I think most people have this one called Sister. That's, again, kind of the 5th or 4th, depending on where you put it, consensus choice here, with Horror Pieced, Uncle Thomas Accounting for the Days, He Can't Live Without Cosmos, and Memorable as the other ones that can be nominated. Traditionally, I might change these later because, usually when I go with something outside of the short list, that's not a consensus choice, I get it wrong in this category. But if I don't do it in another one, then I'll get it wrong anyway, so it doesn't matter. It seems that way sometimes anyways. Okay, then for the doc feature category, the 5 I have are American Factory, Apollo 11, One Child Nation, Honeyland, and For Sama. I originally did have The Cave in here, but I kind of switched that. Now I have For Sama in there. It won big at the British Independent Film Awards for like director, picture, and I think maybe one or two others. So they liked it quite a bit. I'm going to have that one in. The Cave, I mentioned that one. The Biggest Little Farm, some people like. Edge of Democracy, I think it was one of the Gotham nominees, I think, early on, but that one has kind of lost a little bit of steam since then. Midnight Family's one, I saw a preview for that one when I went to see The Irishman, so I know that's one that I've heard of. And then Maiden is another one some people are talking about here. All right, so now we'll get into the tech categories here. Starting with visual effects, I have Avengers Endgame out front here. Lion King in second place. Star Wars Rise of Skywalker I have in there. The Irishman and Alita Battle Angel is my 5th place pick right now. As far as, again, the kind of consensus choice here, 1917 is another one that people have in there. I'm going to wait until I see it. So that's probably, I think it goes into wide release this Friday, so I'll probably see it then. But otherwise, that one is pretty much the one. They're either going with that one and Alita Battle Angel and skipping The Irishman, which could happen. We've seen like last year even, a potential nominee for Best Picture, kind of a heavy favorite to be nominated there, which did make the short list. Black Panther missed here, but you had the argument of, you had another Marvel movie in there with Avengers Infinity War, and it was, a lot of people, including myself, kind of said, the effects were good in that one, but a couple spots, they were a little more noticeable than others. Now, with The Irishman, I think, again, when I first saw it in the theater, it looked, spectacular to me. On second viewing, when I had it kind of up close like this on a laptop over Netflix, it was like, a couple shots here and there were a little funky, but, so that, that could fall through. I don't know if everybody's totally on board for the de-aging thing, but again, I think, they could, and Irishman could end up winning this category, because as we've seen over the years, a Best Picture nominee is usually the one that wins this, or the closest to a Best Picture nominee, like a couple years ago with Blade Runner 2049, that was like the most Best Picture, closest to that of the category, and I think it had the most nominations of any film in that category that year, if I remember right. So, so sometimes they will go with that over more of the effects-heavy films, like in this case in Avengers Endgame or Lion King or Star Wars, so... and then also another thing I kind of have been mentioning it through the year here is that Alita Battle Angel does come from the James Cameron, kind of branch there, and of course his films are almost always the winner in this category, so I think the nomination would be the win for Alita, definitely in this case. See, otherwise, I know some people think Cats maybe has a shot here. Again, I shouldn't say again, I haven't said this on camera yet, I don't think, but, I did, I did in the video yesterday there, I found Cats actually throughout the movie, well, I shouldn't say throughout, but like definitely after the first half hour or so, I thought it was more entertaining than Rise of Skywalker, personally. And I kind of, after a while, I kind of got used to the effects, so, so there's an off chance that one does get in, but as we kind of mentioned earlier there too, Universal did kind of officially pull the plug on the campaign, so we might not see that one go way too far in the race here. Let's see, otherwise, once I see 1917, I'll kind of make a final decision here if I want to kick one of these out and put that one in, or if I want to stick with the 5 I have. All right, moving on to the sound categories now. Sound editing, first, Ford v. Ferrari out front here. Then 1917, the war movie, of course. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. Avengers: Endgame, and Ad Astra is my 5th one. I think, Ford v. Ferrari I have up front. It's the racing movie. It's the loudest movie in the bunch. Having not seen 1917, I've seen everything else here. And Ad Astra, they like the space movies. They like Interstellar, and, all the rest of them have been nominated here. They don't always win, but they're usually nominated. Let's see. Otherwise here, we could see, a couple films that I think are kind of sneaking up here is Joker and The Irishman. Joker did pretty well at the Sound Editors Guild. Got a couple nominations there. I think for music and for its Foley effects or whatever it was. It was something, whatever the equivalent is there. So that could really sneak up and maybe take the place of Ad Astra. I think that's the one I would go with first over a couple of the other ones here. The Irishman, maybe gets in there. It does have, lots of gunfire and stuff in the movie, and it did get, of all things, the goddamn SAG nomination for stunt ensemble. So, I mean, not to say that that's the equivalent of the sound categories at SAG or anything, but it's like, I don't know, if it can pop up there, it's really like it can almost pop up anywhere. See, a couple people do like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in this category, too. Maybe, I mean, we did see Django Unchained get in for sound editing a few years ago there. I think Inglourious Basterds got one of the sound categories too, maybe. So sometimes they like the Tarantino films in this category. A few people pick Rocket Man here. I don't think so. That was the very rare case last year where we saw the musical Bohemian Rhapsody win here. I just don't think they're going to go for that one in this category. Now, sound mixing, that's definitely a legitimate shot, but no, I would say I would be very surprised to see it in for sound editing, of all things. So, we'll get into the sound mix. I have the same 5 here: Ford v. Ferrari, Rise of Skywalker, Avengers Endgame, 1917, and Ad Astra. Now this is the one, where we can see maybe Rocket Man does have a shot here, because traditionally the musicals have been doing better in this category than they do the sound editing category. Again, Bohemian Rhapsody being the big exception last year. You can go back to Bird winning the sound category in the 80s, Les Mis, and not Walk the Line. Ray won sound mixing back in the day too, in the mid 2000s there. So it's very common for them to be at least nominated. So I can definitely see that one breaking in over Ad Astra and stuff like that, because I do have the same 5 just as a safe pick right now. I might switch those up later on. Let's see here. Otherwise, yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, again, I would say has a shot here. Joker, again, has a shot. The Irishman has a shot. Yeah, I would probably leave it at that. But again, Ford v Ferrari out front here because they and there has been, I guess, a little bit of dialogue in the Academy that has been kind of some people have talked about the chance that they might kind of merge these categories starting next year as just best sound, which. I personally like the idea of sound editing and mixing because editing is, to the best of my understanding, and as I've been told through the years, it's more like the loudest movie, the most, bullets and all that stuff. Again, the war movies, think about that. Whereas mixing is all about like, the general mix of the whole movie with score and with dialogue and with, the rest of the sound, everything. Whereas editing is more effects, like sound effects and stuff. Again, that's more the war stuff, So, but if it makes it easier for everybody, then I guess you can combine it into one, so it's, it used to be one category for so long there. Okay, then we'll move on to the makeup and hairstyling category here. They bumped up to 5 nominees finally this year. So Bombshell is definitely in here. I have Joker in second place, Rocket Man in third. Dolomite is my name. I do have in fourth place, and I do have Judy in fifth. Once again, a lot of people like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood here. It's been doing pretty good across the guilds, too. That's the one thing to keep in mind here. So I don't necessarily see it like beating The Irishman for most nominations or anything, but I think it's, from what I've got on my numbers here, it's the second most nominated film by my count. So it's definitely going to be up there come nominations morning. Let's see, otherwise, the other ones that can be nominated here are Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Downton Abbey, Little Women, and 1917. Yeah, again, maybe if 1917, again, having not seen it, if it has any, like, big makeup effects or, like, any soldiers get something, blown off or whatever, then that might be one that just kind of is a filler for this category. But I do like Dolomite because it's, 70s, all the hairstyling and stuff. If they want to actually focus on the hairstyling part of this title of the nomination category, then Dolomite, I think, is an obvious pick here. Otherwise, we've mentioned a couple times Rocket Man, the makeup in that, with not just the work on Taron Egerton, but also on like Bryce Dallas Howard and stuff. Does look really good. And then Judy, at first I was a little reluctant to put that into the category here, but then I'm like, well, even though Renee does resemble Judy Garland a little bit, it's like there's still enough makeup on there, I think, that they'll recognize it. So, yep, those are my 5 there. Let's see, we'll go to the design categories next. Starting with, we'll do production design first here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is still out front for me here. Then The Irishman, Little Women, 1917, and Jojo Rabbit in 5th place there. So they do like the war movies here traditionally, as well as the kind of period pieces, like which technically they are period pieces too. But like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think is kind of out front here from the really the full recreation we see of Los Angeles in the 60s and Spawn Ranch and all the different various settings there. And it might be one of the maybe 2 or 3 categories that does actually win at the Oscars for Hollywood. Let's see. Otherwise, in this category, again, some people do like Parasite. I'm not as high on that one. Joker, same deal. I'm like, yeah, it might get in, might not. Ad Astra, I think, is definitely possible. Ford v Ferrari, again, there's more design work in that movie than kind of meets the eye there. Again, kind of period piece as well. And then maybe one that could get in is Downton Abbey as well, but I don't know. It feels like that one is more in the next category, which is costume design, which it is one of my nominees here. But out front, I do have Little Women. It's kind of that, kind of costume piece, more traditional pick. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I have in second place. I can see that winning here. Downton Abbey as well, I have in third place. That could maybe sneak up the middle there and take it. Otherwise, Rocket Man I have nominated. And also, Dolomite is my name. I have nominated there. Let's see, and I had notes here. Nope. Okay, I was making sure there because, like I said, I'm gonna do a final count at the end of the video here, and I'll say, okay, this one has this many nominations, and so on and so forth. I just want to make sure I had. I'm pretty sure I had Rocket Man down for the other 2, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But or the one, one in addition to these 2, I should say. Let's see here. So Rocket Man, then Dolomite in 5th place there. Again. The Irishman is definitely a big looming threat here. It is Sandy Powell, who's almost always a nominee in this category. So look out for her here. And again, if The Irishman does turn out to be like we've mentioned a few times here, The Revenant, where it's just every category can possibly be nominated in, except screenplay for some reason that year, it gets the nomination in. Even something less obvious like a costume design. which, for The Revenant, I mean, that one was definitely like, oh, I guess all the furs that one. There was a few uniforms and stuff in there too, but The Irishman is a little bit more flashier than, say, The Revenant for its costume design. But again, if we're talking flashy costumes, that's Dolomite and Rocket Man definitely have more of that than, say, The Irishman. Jojo Rabbit also has some flashy costumes with, like, the Scarlett Johansson character and with the Sam Rockwell character and everything. So, that one I would say, if it gets through, I wouldn't be totally shocked. Again, people like Joker in this category, but I'm not so sure about that one. Judy, again, maybe, but I'm not as confident. Not riding high on that one. All right, now we'll move on to let's do the music categories here, starting with original song. I have kind of as just a placeholder here, Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. It'd be the third win for the Lopez siblings. Again, I believe they're siblings. I don't think they're a couple, but it could happen. But I think they'll probably go somewhere else. But I'm just not sure what to pick yet. Then I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man. I have in there Stand Up from Harriet, Spirit from The Lion King, and I do for the fifth place Glasgow from No Place Like Home from Wild Rose. The whole full title is Glasgow, No Place Like Home. And they usually go with like 4 big numbers, and then there's like either a documentary piece or a song, or something like that, for that fifth place pick there. So again, we have the Toni Morrison. I believe it's documentary. I haven't looked it up. I can actually look that up now. How about I? Let's see, what's it called? Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am. Yep, documentary. What did I say? I just wanted to double check that. Yeah. Anyways, so that one, I don't know who wrote it, but, for years there, it's been a consistent one there, so I would definitely be on the watch out for that one. I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough is Diane Warren. Again, they love nominating her in this category, not necessarily giving her the win, but nominating her. And then we'll see overall how popular Parasite is. I have that's a possible nomination for A Glass of Soju, which I can't remember in the movie, but it was probably an end credits thing anyways. Okay, for original score, we have 1917 out front, Thomas Newman. Hopefully he wins this year. I'm rooting for him. Having not seen the film or heard any of the score, but I'm personally rooting for him because he's one of the best composers working right now. Joker in second place, Marriage Story in third, Little Women in fourth, and then Rise of Skywalker in fifth for, of course, John Williams. Even though a lot of the score in the movie is repetitive from the other films, happened with Last Jedi, happened with Force Awakens, both of those got in, so why not this one? Plus, it's supposedly the last one he's going to score for the Star Wars franchise. He won his third Oscar off of Star Wars, the original. So it'd be kind of fitting to see him nominated for his last score here. Let's see, otherwise, this category, I'm kind of looking through the list here, and it's like, I'm just not sure what else kind of fits the bill here. Avengers Endgame has some of the epic score and stuff, and I do like Silvestri. I've liked his score for both this and Infinity War a lot, so I wouldn't mind seeing that one nominated. Otherwise, Us, I love that score, but I just don't know how well that movie's going to hit with the Academy, so I'm not necessarily confident enough to predict that one. Frozen 2, the first Frozen didn't get in for score, so I'm not sure about that one. Motherless Brooklyn made the short list here, but it's nominated at the Globes, but again, I just don't know how widely seen that movie is. Ford v Ferrari, I think, does have a pretty good score, but again, it's outside of the sound category and film editing and picture, I just don't know where else those nominations are going to come from unless Christian Bale sneaks into Best Actor. Jojo Rabbit, I do like Michael Giacchino's score on that, so that one I would say is probably maybe one that not everybody's picking that one. That might be a surprise fifth place nominee, but again, man, Giacchino just really, aside from Up, he really has struggled to get nominated since. So, might happen, but I don't know, and we'll see overall how well Jojo Rabbit does too. Okay, film editing up next. We'll mention this one here. Ford v Ferrari, again, I have that one out front, all the zooming and all that stuff and all the cars and everything. I'm like, yeah, that feels like a natural pick there. The Irishman in second place. It's Thelma Schumacher, who has 4 or 5 Oscar wins. I don't know if this would be enough for the next one, but we'll see. Again, depends on how much they like that movie overall and if they are paying attention to the person who's winning the award. Then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I have in there for third place. This would be the first nomination for, I believe his name is Fred Raskin. I think we might have mentioned him before. Who kind of took over for Sally Shoot, I can't remember her last name, who edited all of Tarantino's films up to Django Unchained, and then this guy came in. So, yeah, I think he's, with this one and with his other work, I think it's, I'm glad I'll probably see him nominated there. Then I have Parasite in fourth place, and Jojo Rabbit I have in fifth place. That's kind of my oddball pick here. Just, again, remembering the movie, it's like right away in the beginning, there's all these fast cuts and stuff, and all sorts of that, and I'm like, and even at the end, not to say what the ending scene is, but there's a lot of editing in that too. So again, I think even those who don't want to watch the movie for whatever reason, who just aren't open enough to the experience. Frankly, at this point, that's it's my second favorite film of the year, and so many people I think just said nope to it because they don't want to support anything that has Hitler on it. But so even though it says up front it's a satire. And it is very funny and comedic, and it makes the Nazis, a total joke, in the course of the film, at least. So, each their own, but, I think there's definitely people that don't want to see that one because of that. I think even those who are, they're like, fine, I'll put it in. It's like, especially in the editing branch here, it's like, even them, I think, if they see that opening scene, they'll be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of editing in this, I'll put it down. That might happen. I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of looking at the other films here. I'm still not on board with this 1917 nomination here. I don't think it's going to get in here because of the one-shot style. Again, as we've kind of mentioned a few times before, Roma, didn't get nominated. Even though Gravity did, it had kind of a similar thing there. Birdman didn't get nominated. So, again, I just think that's one, if I get it wrong, I get it wrong, but I just am not supporting that idea. I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, of course, but just going to say I personally don't think it's going to happen. Marriage Story, depending on its race or its popularity in Best Picture, of course, that could happen. Joker is possible nominee here as well. Otherwise, we did see kind of an oddball nomination here a few years ago for The Force Awakens, which was definitely a more populist movie. So, something like an Avengers Endgame, which is, the biggest film of the year in the way that Force Awakens was the biggest film of the year, $2 billion movie and so on. Maybe, but I don't know. That's going to be hard. Plus, definitely at that point, 4 years ago, Force Awakens was more, higher up in the Best Picture possibilities than Endgame is right now. Otherwise, Knives Out maybe could be a surprise nominee here. Uncut Gems has picked up a couple of those critics' prizes for editing, so this category kind of feels a little bit more open than a few other ones do. Definitely more chances for surprises. We could see, something like, I would say even something like The Irishman could potentially miss out here, depending on just how much, love there is for other films in this category. That one really feels like the only one here that's like a safe, predictable pick. It's like Ford v Ferrari feels, I should correct that. It's the only one that feels like a traditional Oscar, pick here because it's Scorsese, because it's Thelma Schumacher, which means it's probably going to get in, but it's like, Ford v Ferrari is fast editing and racing and all that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is, a lot of editing and stuff. Parasite is the cool pick everyone likes. Even something like Jojo Rabbit, which could fall off the list, obviously. Again, I think if there's support for the movie, I think that's where it's one it could land in here. Okay, then we'll move on to the cinematography category. Again, I think this is owned by Roger Deakins in 1917. The Irishman in second place. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in third. I'm still sticking with The Lighthouse in fourth place, even though it didn't get the Cinematographers Guild nomination. One that did, though, and I got it in now, is Joker. And yeah, I've kind of put that one in across a couple different categories too. Initially, I was kind of thinking like everybody else. I'm like, it's going to be this and that, and that's going to be it. But I've kind of got it in for more stuff now. So yeah, we can definitely talk about. Whoops, that is wrong. There, I need to fix that. There we go. Now I've got that right. So yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe the sound categories, maybe editing. So, that could be one, like I said at the beginning of the year, it's like it's going to get a bunch of nominations or it's going to get like one or two. I don't know. I've got it in the middle right now just to hedge my bets a little bit. But I don't know. I might correct that as we go on here and maybe lean more toward one side or the other. Again, The Lighthouse I have in, it's black and white. We saw 2 black and white films nominated last year by this category. So, it's either, I feel like Joker, Hollywood, Irishman, 1917 are like pretty much they're in, unless we see a major snub like the year of 12 Years a Slave, which was a guaranteed one, but then it didn't get nominated. So it feels like, The Lighthouse might be one that goes. So it's like, do they go, because there's always a weird pick in the cinematographer's branch here, like I believe it was the German film last year that got in, the one that I never saw it, but I do like the cinematography a lot in Parasite. So again, depending on the wide popularity of the film, that could be one that gets in. Ford v Ferrari was the kind of surprise nominee at the Cinematographers Guild, so I wouldn't count that one out entirely. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is winning a lot of the critics groups prizes and stuff. Again, it's got that. I think it was Never Look Away was the one last year. It was something like that. If there is another one of those this year, Portrait of a Lady on Fire is probably the safe bet, if not A Hidden Place, which I initially had in this category, but I kind of took that out in favor of Joker. This one again, there's definitely like 9 or 10, possible nominees here in this category. All right, now we'll go to the feature categories here. Animated feature, we'll start with that one. Toy Story 4 out front, pretty much per usual here. Frozen 2 in second place. How to Train Your Dragon 3. Missing Link and I Lost My Body. I put that one in fifth since that's doing pretty well here. Otherwise, don't count out Weathering with You. Don't count out Abominable. That's probably about the 7 there. Let's see, then for international film, Parasite out front. Yeah, no surprise there. Pain and Glory in second. Les Mis in third. Atlantis in fourth. And I have Honeyland in fifth. And right now, I think those are the general consensus picks with a few people picking Corpus Christi, a few people picking the Beanpole movie, which, I don't know, I haven't seen too many ads for that one or anything. Honeyland, I have it also in for the doc feature category, so those sometimes do cross over here. Yeah, otherwise that feels like the consensus to me there, so I'll kind of go with that. All right, now we'll get into the screenplay categories, starting with adapted screenplay. I have The Irishman out front still, again, kind of as a consensus pick here, but I would rather see Jojo Rabbit nominated here. That's the more like a live screenplay. Not say that The Irishman is like dead screenplay, but it's like, Irishman is just like, it's it's good, there's definitely memorable lines and stuff, but like Jojo Rabbit is like open and free, and it feels like, the more memorable dialogue and stuff, so I can definitely see that one ending up winning, but it's definitely going to get nominated. Little Women I have in third place, The Two Popes in fourth, and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood in fifth. So I am leaving out Joker here, which I think Joker gets in at the BAFTAs for screenplay. If it does there, and it gets in at WGA, which it likely will, since Two Popes is going to be out of the category there, over in the original category at WGA, as we kind of mentioned in a previous video there. Yeah, it kind of feels like these are the 6 that it's down to, and I could see Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood missing here, and it only ends up with Tom Hanks being the only nominee there. That's very possible, but again, it's like how widely loved is the Joker script? It's like, and just the movie in general too, because Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood I feel like has definitely some good moments in its script. Having seen that one now. Joker, again, I love the dialogue when we get into about the last 20-ish minutes. But before then, it's very, predictable, been there, done that screenplay. There's nothing, aside from a couple of lines here and there from Arthur Fleck, it's like, yeah, it's kind of been there, done that. And then it's like when we get to the big De Niro scene, as everybody's mentioned, I'm sure, we won't quite go into spoiler territory yet since I'm not, it's just coming out on disc now. So I think a few people still have to see it, but yeah, that scene with him and De Niro, it's like fine. It's like the screenplay kind of opens up at that point, and you're like, okay, now the movie's really, kind of going for it and everything. So, I mean, it could still be nominated, of course, and Beautiful Day could miss, but those other 4, I mean, feel like absolute locks here. So, yeah, I mean, that's really about it for this category. Original screenplay is where we get into a little bit more competitive field here with Marriage Story. I still have out front here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in second place, Parasite in third, The Farewell in fourth, and I still have Bombshell in fifth, but just because I'm not sure what else to go with here, because Knives Out, it is definitely, here at the domestic box office at least, gaining a lot of traction now. I think a lot more people have seen it. I think initially, it did well in its first weekend and stuff around Thanksgiving holiday and stuff. But it's like once the kind of Twitter trolls and stuff that kind of, couldn't get over the fact that Ryan Johnson's name was on it. It's like once they kind of shut up about it and everybody else saw it, it's like everybody's like, yeah, it's a really solid, funny movie. And I'm like, yeah, it could definitely be nominated here. and it's probably, because as I've kind of mentioned through the years, there's always like, in this category in particular, you always get 4 nominees that are Best Picture and then 1 that's not. And Knives Out, probably not going to be a Best Picture nominee right now, and doesn't have a lot of traction there. So yeah, that one I could easily replace here. Otherwise, Pain and Glory has a shot. Depends on if they want to go for it here. 1917, I'm a little less on that one because it's, the war, again, as we mentioned, war films have a tougher time with screenplay. Booksmart feels like that one's the damage is kind of done for that one. It came out a little too early, I think, and even though it's, a pretty well-loved film and stuff, it's like, I just don't feel enough traction behind that one anymore, so. Yep, I think that's about it for that category there. We'll get into the acting races now. Let's see, so for supporting actress, I still have Laura Dern out front for Marriage Story. Jennifer Lopez I have bumped up to second place for Hustlers. Margot Robbie I have in third for Bombshell. I have put in Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit. And I still have Zhao Shuzhen in for The Farewell. So again, until we see Florence Pugh take off, like if she misses BAFTA, then yeah, no way. I think she makes it in at the Oscars. I think she's definitely, because of where she's from, definitely BAFTA will help her there, and I think she gets in. But it's like, again, Miss SAG, Miss Critics' Choice, in at the missed Golden Globes. I mean, made it into Critics' Choice, but that if that's the only place, and there's 7 nominees or 6 nominees, it's like, got to whittle it down to 5 here. So, yeah, I feel like these 5 are kind of more or less, aside from Florence Pugh, the consensus here. Annette Bening in The Report and Kathy Bates in Richard Jewell, they kind of feel a little more outside. Let's see here. Who else in this category? Nicole Kidman was the surprise nominee at SAG for Bombshell. But, I did see that one too. I don't know, I just wasn't, I've liked Nicole in a lot of her recent films that have been Oscar fair, like Lion and Boy Erased, but this one, no, it's like she was totally a caricature as Gretchen, whatever, I forgot the journalist's name. Totally a caricature as that. I didn't really understand that nomination there. Yeah, otherwise, that kind of feels like the extent of it there. We'll see. If Maggie Smith maybe bounces back at BAFTA, we might see her get a couple more votes here, but otherwise, I'm not so sure here. For supporting actor, I still have kind of just as a a little bit of a put my foot down because I'm just not in love with the performance. I have Al Pacino out front for The Irishman still, but yeah, we'll see. If Brad Pitt wins the Globes and Critics' Choice, I'll probably shift him in first place there, but... Otherwise, Tom Hanks I have in second place for Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, then Brad Pitt for Hollywood, Joe Pesci in for The Irishman, and then Song Kang-ho I have in for Parasite in that 5th place spot. And, I definitely, part of the reason I'm going with him here is Parasite got that SAG nomination for Ensemble, so it's on the radar even for the actors, so that means probably that an actor's going to get in for the movie, and it's like Song Kang-ho is kind of the most liable option there, I think. Yeah, and again, if you haven't seen the film, it's like he gets a couple moments, especially toward the second half of the movie, where he really shines. So I would really appreciate to see him nominated there. Plus, that kind of, as we've been mentioning here a little bit through the last few weeks, like that it gets rid of that stigma of 5 old white guys in the category. Now it's 4 old white guys and a somewhat older South Korean actor. So yeah, I guess that solves the diversity factor a little bit there at least. Otherwise, in this category, I would say Jamie Foxx, still watch out for him for Just Mercy. He got the SAG nomination. Anthony Hopkins, definitely for The Two Popes is a possibility. Again, depends on how well that movie goes overall with the Academy. Willem Dafoe still could get in for The Lighthouse. He missed a couple spots last year for the I can't remember the artist's name now. The one, the cut off the ear one. Shit, whatever. That movie last year. The Vincent Van Gogh movie, yeah. Yeah, that one, he missed a few spots, but ended up being nominated. So that could happen, and he could be the 5th nominee here, but it feels like Pesci, Pacino, Pitt, Hanks are just kind of the 4 standards in this category. I don't really see any of them missing here. And again, I'll throw it out there again just in case, but Alan Alda of Marriage Story, if the Academy really, the voting branch here, the acting branch, if they really want to go that 4 for 4, acting slots and stuff with Marriage Story, then yep, he's the one. All right, Best Actress, I still have Renee Zellweger out front for Judy. Still have Saoirse Ronan in second for Little Women, Charlize Theron in third for Bombshell, Scarlett Johansson fourth for Marriage Story, but that one probably I could flip up a little bit. And then I have Cynthia Erivo in 5th place there for Harriet. She really hasn't missed anywhere so far, so Yeah, whereas Aquafina did miss at the SAGs there. And again, the Farewell, I think it's definitely has slipped in its, original predictions there, I think, from what a few of us were kind of going with earlier. Like Zhao Shuzhen, I have 5th place for supporting actress. I think she might miss. The movie could miss out for its picture nomination. It might be, if they go with something else, like if Bombshell breaks into Best Picture there, then maybe the one film that's not up for Best Picture in that original screenplay category is The Farewell. Or it gets bumped out by Knives Out and they keep Bombshell, or they keep, whatever else in there. Or they, whatever happens there. But, we'll see about that one there. Otherwise, Lupita Nyong'o has gained a little bit of traction for us. I like that performance a lot. It's very possible. So, watch out for that one. Otherwise, I feel like Alfre Woodard and Clemency, it's like that kind of feels done. She just has picked up no traction in that movie. Again, it's kind of overrun by the whole Parasite thing. It's the same distributor there. Okay, for Best Actor, I'm kind of, kind of a little unsure here because I've got Joaquin winning the Globe. I have Adam Driver winning Critics' Choice and SAG, and I think BAFTA could also go to Joaquin Phoenix, so I'm going with Adam Driver here for now for the Oscar, but I could, depending on who all wins where, it's like, I could see that happening. Now, Marriage Story, I feel like he's going to win Best Actor at SAG there because Scarlett's probably going to lose to Renee at SAG. Laura Dern might win for Marriage Story, that might be the place they reward it, but Joker has the second nomination in Stunt Ensemble, so if they really want to give Joker something, and they don't want to, and they like Adam Driver enough that they won't feel guilty about Joaquin, they'll put it, they'll give the win to the Stunt Ensemble. I think that could happen. Maybe we'll see, but for now I've got Adam Driver in first place here for the Oscars. Again, we'll see how the season goes. Joaquin Phoenix, definitely a second place vote here. Leonardo DiCaprio in third for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Antonio Banderas I have in for fourth place for Pain and Glory, and I still have De Niro in for fifth place for The Irishman. Again, just on the idea that if Irishman keeps getting all these nominations, it's like they'll feel bad leaving Bob out, so I've got him in. And plus, I'm just not sure because we've got Taron Egerton, Jonathan Pryce, Eddie Murphy, and Christian Bale, who have all been kind of sporadically nominated throughout all the rest of the awards there. Like Christian Bale missed Critics' Choice, but he's gotten in everywhere else. Eddie Murphy got into the Globes, but then he's missed everywhere else. Except, wait, did he get in for Critics' Choice? I thought he did. I'm going to pull those up again. Let's see here. Best Actor. There we go. Yeah, I forget who made, because it's like 7 nominees here. Murphy and Adam Sandler made it in for Uncut Gems. Yeah, since then, it feels like Adam Sandler, even though Uncut Gems is maybe going to be the highest grossing A24 film so far released, it feels like that one, unfortunately, is kind of getting caught up in the rest of the competition here. So Eddie Murphy got Critics' Choice and Globe, but then he missed SAG, which was big. Jonathan Pryce got in at the Globes, missed Critics' Choice and SAG. Taron Egerton's in for the SAG and Globes, but missed Critics' Choice. And I don't have him in at BAFTA, surprisingly. I'm going with Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes over that, because I feel The Two Popes, for me, feels more like a BAFTA movie. Having not seen it, I don't know. I just get that feeling with that one. So it's like if Christian Bale, another Welsh actor, he could easily get in for Ford v Ferrari over there at BAFTA. If I think if Bale gets in over De Niro, and I have De Niro missing at BAFTA too, otherwise I've picked everybody else here: DiCaprio, Banderas, Driver, and Phoenix. So I think if Christian Bale does get the BAFTA nomination, then he has BAFTA, Globe, SAG. So I'm like that. I would probably go ahead and put him in over De Niro. And plus, it's another way to reward Ford v Ferrari, which again I feel it feels like it's in 6th place in a lot of these different categories here. Like, maybe not screenplay, but it's like cinematography, it's just about there, but it's not in. Production design, it feels like it's close, but it's not there. Maybe even director for James Mangold, not quite there, but it's definitely, just beneath the surface there. And plus, we'll see what DGA does. I know I kind of spilled the beans yesterday on my 5 there. It's the same as the Globes with Todd Phillips in. Maybe James Mangold gets that 5th spot for Ford v Ferrari, and I part of this is my thinking just off of that surprise nomination at the for the Guild there for Ford v Ferrari. But otherwise, Ford v Ferrari's performed pretty much as well as we thought it would across the other guilds there. So it's like I can check again here. I think it's in for not the Costume Design Guild, but I'm pretty sure it made it in for the Art Directors Guild. Let me see. I can pull up that list again here. So I know, yeah, I didn't make like the makeup or something like that, anything like that, but yeah, it's in for period design for the Art Directors Guild, so it's got fans there. Again, I don't think it got the costume one. Nope, it didn't get costume one. So it's, again, you kind of, for some of these categories, the one more or less upset, nominations, sometimes you look to these guilds here. But otherwise, it performed, like very well at, the sound guilds and stuff. So, it's been liked pretty well across the guilds, in the usual places. Remember, a lot of the guilds have, period, contemporary, fantasy. So it's like, a lot of them do that. Not all of them, but so it makes it a lot easier for a lot of other films to get in and for there to be more nominees there. So it makes it a little tougher to whittle it down to 5 for the Oscars, as always. But and then we'll see how well Ford v Ferrari does at BAFTA, too. If a lot of the British voters are on board, which the movie, I think, did okay internationally. It picked up pretty well here in the domestic box office. It's coming in 110 million, I think, by the end of the weekend, potentially. But I think internationally it's done okay. So let's see. I can really quick just see where the box office is at there. Worldwide total 202,800,000. So yeah, I guess fairly enough. Yeah, we'll see if it really dominates at BAFTA and gets like actor, director somehow, or somehow gets a picture nomination. I'm not too confident on that. But if it gets like tons of those guild or tech categories at BAFTA, like a film that a score nomination or something like that, something weird like that, then I'll be like, okay, maybe this is definitely more well liked than I thought it was initially. Because, yeah, right now I've got it in only for 4 nominations, which feels a little small, but, we'll see. If it gets, Christian Bale, that's another big one. It's an acting nomination, which shows the acting branch likes the movie. So, yeah, we'll kind of, be, that's, again, I feel like that one is very close in a lot of categories, but only 5 slots, so it's tough. Okay, moving on to Best Director now. I still have Scorsese out front for The Irishman, but if Bong Joon-ho does win tomorrow night, like I've been predicted to for Parasite, I might just bump him up. Because I feel like he's got Critics' Choice. They could go, like they've gone George Miller in the year of Iñárritu for The Revenant and stuff, so, they don't always go with the consensus choice for director. Otherwise, Sam Mendes in third for 1917. I'm still holding out for Noah Baumbach, even though he missed the Globe for Marriage Story. And then Quentin Tarantino in 5th now for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, yeah, I dropped Taika. And, again, he could be maybe, again, we'll see how well JoJo does. It's been doing pretty well across the guilds, including the nomination at SAG there for Ensemble. And yeah, and, we kind of mentioned there, Christian Bale did get the SAG nomination there for Ford v Ferrari, which counted big there. But, I don't know, maybe Taika is a surprise nominee at DGA. It's like, it feels like we've got Tarantino, Mendes, Bong Joon-ho, and Scorsese. So I don't have Noah Baumbach at the Directors Guild. They usually go 4 for 5 from DGA to the Oscars, so we'll see which one they leave out. I don't know. It's like, it's a tough call right now. They could go Pedro Almodovar, who I do have in for the directing nomination at BAFTA. I feel like I'm spoiling a lot of stuff, but, we'll get there. Otherwise, like I said, Todd Phillips, I have in at DGA right now, and he's up at the Globe here tomorrow. Greta Gerwig, we'll see. I feel like the politics is not sticking as well this year, and it's maybe politics is a bad word for it, but, the outcry for, female directors nominated, it doesn't feel as strong this year as it was 2 years ago, which I think definitely pushed Greta over the edge. To get in for director. I think she was definitely circling it last time for Lady Bird, going into like Globes and going into stuff like that. But it's like once that happened and once everybody got really upset in the year of Me Too to not have a female director nominated, it's like really, I think that definitely, she was close, but that was enough to get her across the finish line there. This year, it just doesn't feel the same. It's like, Marriage Story, pretty popular movie. 1917, no way that misses for director. Parasite, very popular movie, that'll get in. Scorsese, legend, he'll get in. Tarantino, most everybody loves him, so he'll get in. So it's like, it's like Baumbach, is he the weak one? Or, it's like Tarantino did miss for director for Django Unchained that year. I mean, not that he was a guaranteed nominee, but he got in, across a lot of nominations there for directing that year, but didn't quite get to the Oscars. So do they do that again with Hollywood? I don't know. I think Hollywood's definitely a stronger contender right now than Django was that year. So, or like we mentioned, James Mangold, maybe somebody like him, or maybe another one that pops up at BAFTA, which I've been considering a little bit more, is Fernando Mariellas, who did the Two Popes, who really has, that film has been talked about a lot in different categories, but like nobody knows who the director is. So maybe if he surprises at BAFTA, maybe that'll get in, but we'll see here. Okay, so again, up to 10 picture nominations here. I feel confident they'll go 9 this year. They've gone 8 out of 8 out of a possible 10. What has it been, like the last 4 years or something like that, or maybe 3 years? Yeah, it's been quite a while. So Marriage Story I have out front again, just as kind of a placeholder right now. We'll see how everything goes. We'll see if maybe something like Parasite can gain enough steam to win Best Picture this year. I mean, obviously, a lot of us kind of thought, and I'm still thinking now, it's like I don't want to fall into that trap again where it's like Roma, we all went on board for by the end, or most of us did. But it's like, well, they can award that in, foreign language, or in this case now it's retitled international film. The Irishman, again, that feels, it feels like it's a strong contender. It'll be likely the most nominated film on Oscars morning, but it's like it's 3 elderly white guys, directed by an elderly white guy, written by a white guy. It's like, again, you kind of think, it's like, does it feel like too safe for some Oscar voters and stuff? Do they want to go something a little more off the wall, something a little more, inclusive, like Parasite or Jojo Rabbit or Little Women, a female-directed film? Or, you kind of go down the list there. It's like, do they want to go something more populist like Joker, which I have in there? So, okay, so the official rankings are Marriage Story 1, Irishman 2, Parasite 3. I have Jojo Rabbit in 4th. Little Women in 5th, 1917 in 6th, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood clear down in 7th. Again, maybe that's just my personal thing, since I didn't like the movie as much as everybody else did. I still, and on the second viewing, I liked it still, but again, I didn't outright love it the second time either. Ford v Ferrari in 8th, Joker in 9th, and I do have, for that potential, if they do go to 10, The Farewell in 10th. But Bombshell, after they got the big turnaround at SAG there, that might be enough to push it over the edge for a picture nomination. I do have it getting into a few other categories there, so we'll see. The Two Popes is also another potential one. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Most other years would be a given in this category, but not so much. Like we said, Knives Out has not a ton of traction in this category. I don't think it gets in over anything else here. So, what else? Hustlers, not so much. Dolomite, I don't think so. Rocketman, I don't think so. Uncut Gems, no, even though it's gotten a few oddball nominations here and there, like Critics' Choice Picture and stuff. It's like, that could be one. We'll throw that in for original screenplay too, Uncut Gems, having not seen that one yet. But yeah, like, I'm kind of thinking like something like The Irishman, I think, is leading the polls right now on Gold Derby and a couple other sites. But again, it's like, does it feel too safe? I don't know if I necessarily think it's a front runner in any big categories. It's like director could be Bong Joon-ho. Adapted screenplay probably could be Jojo Rabbit. Supporting actor, they might not go with either Pesci or Pacino. De Niro might even get nominated. He might not get nominated for actor. For picture, again, they could go somewhere else like Marriage Story or Parasite or Jojo Rabbit. I don't know if they can go all the way for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though. I'm just not as confident in that film as everybody else is. Let's see here. Otherwise, trying to think, the other categories, like, it might miss costume design. Production design, feels more like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The visual effects category, we could see something like Avengers Endgame, or even, what was the other one we mentioned there? Lion King, maybe, could win there. It's like, the sound categories might not get in, and so on and so forth down the line there. It's like, it's kind of, it might be the most nominated film and then go home with nothing. It's possible. Does it go 0 for 10, 0 for 12, however many it gets? Possibly. Whereas Parasite, might win international director, picture, maybe screenplay goes along for the ride there. I would probably vote, definitely say Marriage Story is a stronger lock in that category than Parasite is, but, it's a kind of a different deal once we figure out who the front runners are in other categories and stuff. So, or this could be the year where the screenplay category doesn't line up with Best Picture. It's, didn't do that a couple years ago with Shape of Water, so it's very possible. All right. That's my nominations across the entire field there. So we'll go into the most nominated films and stuff here. I do have The Irishman in for 10, so again, those are picture, director, actor, supporting actor, 2 times, adapted screenplay, cinematography, editing, production design, visual effects. Then I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in second place with 9 nominations, picture, director, actor, supporting actor, screenplay, cinematography, costumes, production, and film editing. Let's see, then next up I have both 1917 and Marriage Story with 7 each, with Marriage Story picture, director, actor, actress, supporting actress, screenplay, score. Hang on, that's 7, isn't it? 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. And then 1917, picture, director, cinematography, design, production design, I should say, sound mixing, sound editing, score. So that's 7 there. Let's see here. Then after that, I've got Parasite has 6 for me. Picture, director, supporting actor, screenplay, international film, film editing. Little Women also has 6 with picture, actress, adapted screenplay, costume, design, production design, score. Then I've got Joker with 5, and Jojo Rabbit also with 5. Now, Jojo Rabbit has picture, supporting actress, adapted screenplay, film editing, production design. Joker has picture, actor, makeup, cinematography, and score. Then Bombshell I have in for 4, actress, supporting actress, original screenplay, makeup. Again, original screenplay could fall out there. Rise of Skywalker has 4 with score, sound editing, sound mixing, visual effects. Yeah, then, Ford v. Ferrari also has 4 with picture, editing, sound editing, and sound mixing, film editing, I should say, for that first one there. And then films with 3 nominations are Avengers Endgame with visual effects, sound mixing, sound editing, The Farewell right now with picture, again, maybe, supporting actress and original screenplay, and then everything else has 2. Yeah, so that's just the ones with 2 really quick are Judy, actress makeup, Harriet, actress and song, Pain and Glory, actor and international film, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, supporting actor and adapted screenplay. Rocket Man has 3. Sorry, that one has 3. I miscounted on that one. Costume design, makeup, and song. Dolomite has 2, though, costume design and makeup. Frozen 2, animated feature and song. Lion King, song and visual effects. Ad Astra, sound editing, sound mixing. Honeyland, documentary feature and international film. So, yeah, that's kind of where it stands right now. Again, Irishman or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are looking at the big honor of having the most nominations. You know, that helped with Shape of Water, but it didn't necessarily pan out last year for, which had the most nominations last year? Roma and The Favorite, both tied with 10, that's right. So, you know, sometimes that helps, sometimes they go somewhere else. So, again, that could be a sign for Irishman, you know. Again, I'm not as strong a believer in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood being the Best Picture winner. I just don't see it. I think it wins the Globes tomorrow night, but that's just because they didn't like Jojo Rabbit enough, and there wasn't enough other stuff in that category for them to like, so I think it's kind of by default Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Whereas Green Book last year, you could argue, had a lot stronger competition in that category, and that was, you know, I think most everybody had picked it, but let's see here, what was that? Was that the 75th Globes or the 76th? Let me pull up 76th. Yep, it was 76th. Yeah, you had Crazy Rich Asians. The Favorite was definitely a threat there. Vice was definitely a threat there. Mary Poppins Returns was a musical. Sometimes they do go those. So it's like, yeah, that felt like, you know, definitely much tougher competition there. So I don't know if it's necessarily like that's the path it's going to follow. Like, you know, Once Upon a Time Hollywood will win this. Green Book won it last year, so therefore it wins Best Picture. I don't know if you can quite go on that trajectory. But that being said, though, I think definitely Hollywood has a much higher chance right now at that director nomination than Peter Farrelly did last year, even though I stuck him in last minute and it didn't work. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now for the Oscar predictions. Once again, once we get the full list from the rest of the guilds, PGA and DGA and WGA, then we'll get some more tea leaves there. We'll see where BAFTA goes. We'll see what do pop up as the winners at Globes. And, and then we'll get final predictions here definitely before the next coming Monday, the 13th, when nominations are out. So I would say probably Saturday or maybe Friday of that week I'll have the final predictions all laid out here. So definitely that's by the time I've seen 1917. So, yep. All right. I feel like that'll do it here. So, yep, we'll be back here tomorrow with the Globes. We'll just do a quick follow-up once they're done. If I do get some time tomorrow, I might do a video before the Globes, which is we can do reviews or BAFTA nomination predictions or PGA and and full DGA nominations. I might loop those in with BAFTA, actually, just be safe. One less video for me to shoot. So, yep, we will definitely see you tomorrow, one way or another, with globes or with other stuff. So, we will see you then.